Good afternoon, and online as well. I'm the final speaker, so this is going to be quite a challenge for you. And I have a challenge as well, making you keep your attention to my slides. That's why I have included some humorous mind triggers. I'll show you one in a minute, like this. Sorry, I need to do that. Yeah, this is forward. Like this one, if the planner were a patient, it would be on the ITU while CEOs discuss whether greenwashing counts as life support. Now you're supposed to laugh.
We have to think about this.
We'll think fast, but I'm moving on. Okay, and yeah, that's the issue here. But I think they're quite funny with the serious undertone, but you'll find them in between my slides, a couple more to keep your attention and to keep you engaged. And of course, the question is, what will be the next one? I'm talking about, this is my agenda, 4 issues and 2 slides about it, how to sum it all up. I'm going to talk about the interconnection in the infectious diseases and the non-communicable diseases. I will stick to NTDs from now on. The syndemics, is that a common word for you? No, all right, I've got something new. The interconnection between planetary health and the other two, the infectious and the NTDs. And it came, the word was used tomorrow, the neoliberal framework. I'm going to focus my arrows on that, and especially, and you mentioned it as well, in animal factory farming, and I call it human factory farming, where productivity and with profit-driven, and we're supposed to, the system is leading, and I have to adapt. And if that's healthy, that needs to be seen. Right. Next one. But first, I'm going to talk about the infectious disease and the NTDs. When I went to school, I learned there were 2 separate things, hence the 2 colors of the water. But since COVID, we know that the distinction ceased to exist because they are interconnected, which I'll show in a minute. Traditionally, I need to move on. Herman for the Dutch viewers. We were used to have these 2 separately. Infectious disease, the TBC, influenza, where you can read for yourself, seen as acute conditions caused by pathogens, and below the NTDs, diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular issues, and which are linked to lifestyle factors. So you have, it's your own choice, your own doing, genetic predisposition and chronic inflammation. And of course, we don't mention environmental risk factors, which there are, but I'll show you in a minute. These 2 were separated, but they are not, as I will show you right now. What happens is that the infectious disease, and I will connect it to planetary health and syndemics later on, but I have to start somewhere in the circle. Infectious diseases like SARS-CoV-2 promote chronic inflammation and metabolic dysregulation. By the way, my background is a system biologist, so I talk from that as well. And that means, and we know the list of the 6 points from all the publications we've read, that viral persistent, latent or low-grade viral reactions, chronic immune activation, etc., will disturb other systems in our body and will increase the risk of triggering or exacerbating existing non-chronic diseases, which will be like this. Due to the infection, we change the regulated system in our body, which will cause the appearance or the exacerbation of the NTDs. NTDs, from that, if we take that as a starting point, cause chronic inflammation, immune dysregulation, and metabolic stress, amongst others. So it impairs the immune response, increasing susceptibility to infections. There we have the connection, which leads to this picture. And if we're lucky, and some of us do, they fuel each other and spiral out of control. This is the picture I'm using to explain the rest of my talk. And this bi-directional link highlights the need for integrated universal prevention. And universal, I mean the preventive measures that have been taken. Preventive measures take that. I can't read my own notes. Preventive measures that are applied to an entire group, regardless of individual risk factors. So we have to take into account the whole population, and health management strategies, which will be talked about a little bit later. So now you know that these two are interlinked. And now for the intermezzo. The economy needs you back to work, my job, even if you're post-viral. Fatigue makes getting out of the bed feel like an Olympic event. Productivity over health, obviously. No love. Okay. I'm going to make the next step. We've established the connection, the interconnectedness with the infectious disease and the NCDs. Now I'm going to introduce the planetary health and the environmental drivers, which were neglected in the NCDs. And planetary health, I've written it out so you can, when you get the slide, I assume they get the slide. Yeah. Planetary health focuses on the interaction between human health and the health of our planet, where environmental factors such as climate change, biodiversity losses, ecosystem disruption have a direct impact on infectious diseases and NCDs. And if that's why it has a red background, if that come together, we can move on to the syndemic issue in a minute, but if they come together, then things are spiraling out of control. And it's not just infectious disease and NCDs, it's the social system, it's the economics, it's the political issues and the environmental factors that drive together and cause what they have caused with post-COVID viral chronicity. Let me just elaborate a little bit about planetary health. It includes three aspects: interconnected system thinking, a new word. We have to think from, well, with my background, I'm thinking of this system biologist. So I think we have to introduce interconnected system thinking, which means understanding how human and ecological health are interdependent. And Eva mentioned that as well, but then from the animal point of view, and how disruption in one system can have cascading effects on the other. It's not just one thing, it's not just the infection, not just whatever you want to call it, it's the interaction, and a disruption in one system will cause, sometimes immediately, sometimes later on, devastating negative effects. And the next one is sustainability and equity. This morning, that was addressed this morning, but advocating for solutions that are not only environmentally sustainable, but also socially just, and ensuring vulnerable populations are not disproportionately affected by environmental degradation. The last one is resilience, adaptation, and mitigation. Those are the main words. We try to mitigate the issues, or otherwise we have to adapt to it. And building societies, health systems that can withstand and adapt to environmental changes while mitigating further harm. And looking through what we call the planetary health lens, from left to right, you can see all the things, the underlying drivers, the ecological drivers, and I will look into it for shortly, and what it all causes, the consequences like quality of air, food production, etc., will lead to, and there they are again, an increase in infectious diseases and NCDs, which are intertwined. Let me take a few of them a little bit in focus. The environmental changes and ecosystem disruption. If you see, we have the deforestation and land use, which and each time I will link them to either an NCD or an infectious disease. Habitat loss, increased human wildlife interaction, and zoonotic spillover. previous speaker Eva, which is connected to Q fever and COVID-19, urbanization, overcrowding, poor sanitation, increased air pollution. Remember that one. High transmission of respiratory diseases, agriculture expansion, factory farming. There is a word again, and zoonotic diseases from livestock, and biodiversity loss, reducing natural disease regulation, allowing pathogens carrying species to thrive. We as humans disturb the system, and that's what we get. Let me see what I can get you smile on your face. Sustainable development under extractivism, taking things out of the ground, means cutting down on rainforest, but planting palm trees in place. Oh, look, that's the balance again. You're getting better. We need to practice a little bit more. Let's go on. And the other one, climate change and pollution, also connected to infectious disease and NCDs, rising temperature, extreme weather, and everything of the vector-borne diseases, changing rainfall and water scarcity, waterborne diseases, air pollution, environmental toxin, respiratory disease. UFP stands for ultrafine particles, or asthma say per day, but also ultrafine particles don't just stop in the lungs, they go into the vascular system as well and cause all kinds of problems, including diabetes, cardiovascular issues, or brain damage. But ultrafine particles also interfere with the microbiome in the gut, so it causes dysbiosis, which can lead to leaky gut, which could lead to other problems, like being able to transport viral parts into the bloodstream and maybe cause COVID-19. Glyphosate and biocides. Biocides are chemicals that used in water-based paints. And they are, that's nice that we have that, but if you work in a water waste factory plant, then you are exposed to biocide because it's vaporizing. So green jobs introduce also new occupational risks. So we have to think more carefully, more in a systematic way. Yes, nice that we have that, but something else happens. Another thing is the chemical pollution and heavy metals. And I will especially draw your attention to the EDC as an endocrine disrupting chemical. We have a lot of those, which cause diabetes, amongst others. And causing diabetes, think again of the link to the infectious disease to the NCDs, which will spiral out of control. I have to give you another smile on your face. If we treated our bodies like we treat the planet, we would be drinking oil, setting our hair on fire, and wondering why we feel like crap. I have to do better. Another one, industrialization and lifestyle changes. Ultra-processed foods, poor nutrition is linked to obesity, diabetes and cardiovascular diseases, sedentary lifestyle, urban work culture, increased risk of hypertension, metabolic dysfunction, and mental health disorder, tobacco, alcohol consumption, linked to all these diseases, and antibiotic overuse and resistance, emergence of drug-resistant infection like MRSA and multi-drug-resistant tuberculosis, all linked to planetary health issues. Now, this one will make you laugh. Extractivism is like a sugar daddy relationship with nature. We take everything, give nothing back, and then act surprised when she cuts us off with pandemics and climate disasters. Not funny or too late? Or is it him?
Too true.
It's him, maybe. Drill, baby, drill. Yeah. And the next one, yeah, and then maybe the last one. Globalization and economic factors, increased travel and trade, and rapid spread pandemics, as we noticed going on winter sport in Austria or visiting the north of Italy, and then it came all to the Netherlands, and the rest of history. Economic inequalities, poor healthcare access, higher disease burden in vulnerable populations, occupational hazards, I mentioned it already, industrial exposure, chronic lung diseases, skin disorder, chemical poisoning, and green jobs introducing new health risks, all leading to into the circle of infectious diseases and the NCDs. Okay, another try. Destroying ecosystem for profit is like bootstrapping the apocalypse. At least the yachts, the billionaires, will have oceanfront views.
Maar goed dat je geen stand-up comedian bent geworden, Ernst.
I do my best. You're doing all right. The rest, I don't know about that. Okay. Syndemic, a new word for some of you. It's called, it's an how do you call that? It's a combination of synergistic and epidemics. And that means that, and also the link to Pandora's box. It means that interaction of multiple co-occurring health conditions, infectious disease and NCDs, and social determinants that exacerbate each other within a population. So, and that's because they share the pathobiology, the same pathway. They have the same pathophysiology pathways, or use them, and cause inflammation, immune disruption, all the things we discussed this morning, which leads to an exacerbation, socioeconomic, political, and environmental drivers that come together, and that leads to opening Pandora's box. And these interactions are influenced by broader social, economic, political, and environmental factors, leading to worse health outcomes than if the diseases occurred independently. And I think that is the case with COVID. Another try. Oops, sorry. The best part about blaming lifestyle for chronic illness, it keeps us from questioning why modern life exposes us to a cocktail of pollutants, stress, and viruses that slowly kill us. That was funny. It's true.
Yeah.
Okay, I should have mentioned that before. Sorry. Well, cry then, please. Anyone needs tissues here? Syndemics and the neoliberal framework. It's a political statement, but I'm still going to do it. Ethics in politics. I think the neoliberal framework is in the way. Why is it in the way? It's prioritizing of its priority is focused on acute care over chronic conditions, which means that the neoliberal healthcare system are focused on cost efficiency, productivity. The result is an emphasis on rapid, measurable intervention, while long-term, difficult to objectify conditions such as long COVID or MI DPS are marginalized. I think that is a problem. And it's blaming the individual, meaning that patients with chronic fatigue or post-viral symptoms are often told that they need to be more active, as we discussed this morning, or that the system are between the ears, it's in the head. This aligns with the neoliberal tendency to individualize illness and obscure structural causes, like the ones we just discussed. And what it also does is commodify the commodifying of health. And under neoliberalism, healthcare has become a product, prioritizing pharmaceutical, technological intervention over structural prevention and ecological health approaches. quick fixes. A neoliberal framework deflects attention from environmental and economic structural causes of disease. An example from my own practice is this one: employers implement wellness incentives that place the burden on employees to self-optimize or strengthen their resilience or adaptability. You need to fit within the system, within a work environment system that undermines it. You have to adapt, and again and again. That's what I call human factory farming, or intensive human farming, whatever it is. Intensivement Okay, that wasn't funny either. Consequence: people suffering from post-COVID viral chronicity face medical gaslighting. That was addressed this morning. A lack of research and inadequate care because their conditions do not fit within the neoliberal healthcare model. Market-driven, privatized, cost efficiency. Well, you can read the rest. And also addressed this morning, they lose faith in the medical institutions. Yeah, not funny. We need more resilience. Yes. Let me just meditate my way out of post-spiral mitochondrial dysfunction. Namaste. Was funny. Getting there. Okay. Well, we have established the interlink between the infectious disease and NTDs. We have introduced the quite a lot of planetary health factors. You know now something about syndemics, and if you put these three together, then we find that syndemics demand a broader perspective. In addition to biological things, medical factors, the broader socioeconomic political context must also be considered in the analysis of syndemics, which means an integrated universal protective prevention. They are laughing. Treatment strategies, so multidisciplinary collaboration between medical, social, and policy sectors to effectively address syndemics, and policy intervention reforms aimed to reduce socioeconomic inequalities, improving access to healthcare, promoting environmental protection and health equity, recognition of the structural causes of health problems, efforts to address them through the fair distribution of resources and opportunities. Conclusion: how much time do I have left?
We haven't did it fully yet, yeah, so we may fully, yeah, say 5:34. Can you do that in 5 minutes? Max?
Max. Right, I'll do my best. What I suggest is dismantle the neoliberal framework that commodified health and deepened the syndemic crisis, which means that the neoliberal has turned healthcare into a market product where profit matters more than prevention, and individuals are blamed for systemic failures. To stop this cycle, we must do something. And I'm going to ask you to do that. Reclaim health as a public good, not a corporate commodity. Universal health care, stronger public health systems, and policies that prioritize collective well-being over economic efficiency. And a shift from profit-driven treatment to structural prevention. We have to tax polluters, regulate the food industry, and recognize that chronic disease are not just lifestyle issues, but the result of social, economic, and ecological conditions. And expose the false promise of personal responsibility. Stop blaming individuals for conditions shaped by systemic inequality, environmental degradation, and political neglect. And that's solidarity for you, as was mentioned this morning. And the last one, still 4 minutes left, I believe. The goal must be a planetary health model that integrates human health, environmental sustainability, and social justice. And how can that be done? Health doesn't exist in isolation. It's deeply tied to climate, ecosystems, and economic structures. We must replace the reactive, disease-focused paradigm with a proactive, ecologically conscious approach. And syndemics demands a systemic solution. We cannot treat infection and chronic disease separately when they fuel each other. That means investing in clean air, stable food system, fair labor conditions, and climate policies as core health strategies. And the last one, 2 minutes left. How human survival depends on rejecting an extractivism, embracing regeneration. A world where planetary health is ignored is a world where pandemics, chronic disease burdens, and ecological collapse will continue to spiral out of control. And that was the picture earlier on. That concludes my presentation with a few extra mind triggers. And I'll give you one. Why fund public services when you can subsidize billionaires instead? That didn't work either. This one you have seen before. The planner were patient, but this is a different one. It would be on the ICU while politicians debate whether the ventilator is too expensive. That sounds like Ernst. The free market will solve planetary health, just like it solved poverty, inequality, and affordable insulin. Yeah, right. Syndemics prove that misery truly loves company, especially when healthcare systems are underfunded. And the last one, the economy is doing great. Too bad we can't breathe money. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.